Brayan Bello finally returned to the Boston Red Sox rotation over the weekend, and what a return it was for him.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast, and I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed for free. Yes, that's the best part. It's free, so why not take advantage of it? Honestly, you might as well just tune in to a show that has your emotions covered. I really do feel the same emotions as you, regardless of the situation. If the Red Sox win a game, I'm in a good mood. If they don't win a game, I'm not in a good mood. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedonmlb and use code LOCKEDONMLB, that's all lowercase LOCKEDONMLB, for a first deposit match up to $100. Welcome to Locked On Red Sox, and welcome to a Monday episode in which we can be happy about what we saw over the weekend as the Red Sox pulled off a series win against the Nationals. And this was definitely a much needed series win for this team because they were starting to approach the territory of getting back under 500. And that is just very much not ideal. I've been saying for a while now that it's fantastic that this Red Sox team has been able to stay afloat and stay over 500 with all the injuries they have. So then when they started to dip towards that 500 mark again, I said they better not go under 500. And they restored themselves. They won 2 out of 3 against the Nationals, and they were able to get back to 2 games over 500. So they now sit at 21-19, which is a good record for a team, again, that has just been pounded with injuries this year. And one of those players who was on the injured list was Brayan Bello. He finally made his return to the Boston Red Sox and started the game on Sunday. And he had a good start overall. He went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits and 2 earned runs. He recorded 1 strikeout. He did give up 1 home run, but overall his start looked very good. He did get the win in the game with Kenley Jansen picking up the save. The Red Sox only won by a run. They won 3-2, so it was a tight one. But Brayan Bello came back and looked very good. And he's overall been solid in his starts this year. The most runs he's given up was 4 in a start, and that was back at the beginning of April in his start against the Athletics. He gave up 4 earned runs, 2 home runs in that game, so he just made a couple mistakes, but they were costly. So back then, he didn't have the best start to the season, but overall, he's been very solid. His last start before he went on the injured list was on April 19th against the Pirates. He gave up 0 earned runs in that start and went 6 innings, so looked very solid. He also recorded 7 strikeouts in that game. So he was getting a lot of swings and misses then, and he looked very solid. So that's why it was such a disappointment when he ended up on the IL, because he looked good prior to that. So I thought that he was fine and that everything was fine. And then all of a sudden it was announced by the Red Sox that he was going on the injured list. But I'm happy to have him back now for sure. His ERA is at a 3.13 now. So definitely good. And I only expect that to continue to go down. He missed 17 games with right lat tightness, but I don't think that'll set him back too much. I think he's going to continue to pitch very well, as he is consistently a top of the rotation pitcher for this Boston Red Sox team. And it's really good to have him back, not only from the standpoint of just having his talent in the rotation again, but also having a solid arm back to the point where the Red Sox can stay away from bullpen games more now to start, because it's hard and it's taxing on the bullpen when they're expected to put in more work than they should be and pitching more often. And if they're starting games and they're expected to pitch for longer periods of time, in the long term, that's going to hurt the bullpen. So I'm glad that Bello is back and is able to contribute. Actually, his start on Sunday was his first career start against the Nationals. So the Nationals hitters didn't know what to expect from him. He didn't know what to expect out of them, but he looked good. And I was happy to see him be able to vary his pitches and continue to throw very effectively in the game. I honestly wasn't sure if the Red Sox were going to bring him out again to pitch another inning, but I think they made the right choice. It was his first start back. They probably didn't want to push it a little bit, so they said if we could get him through 5 solid innings, that would be great. So they did, but with every activation comes a roster move. So the Red Sox needed to clear space on the roster to bring Bello back, and so they ended up making a surprising corresponding move, and that was that they sent pitcher Josh Winckowski down to AAA. He had a 3.33 ERA, so it was definitely a little bit of a surprising move that the Red Sox made. He also had been on the active roster since the start of 2023 and was one of the Red Sox best relievers last year. I mean, he posted a 2.88 ERA in 60 outings last year. So there were definitely a lot of questions as to why this move took place, but Alex Cora did explain the reasoning behind why the Red Sox did that. He basically said the decision was based on the roster and immediate needs right now to win as many games as possible, and they felt like it would benefit him more to go down to AAA and continue to improve on his game. They chose to demote him over Zach Kelly, Brennan Bernardino, and Cam Boozer, all of whom began the season in Worcester and also have minor league options. So I think the Red Sox thought there was a chance that maybe Boozer was going to get sent down instead. But Alex Cora said that he liked having the two lefties in the bullpen because they're already limited on left-handed arms. So having those two guys in the bullpen makes sense to keep around. So I think it was kind of out of the question sending one of them down to AAA, and especially Brennan Bernardino. We knew it wasn't going to be him because he's just been dominant once again, just like last year out of the Red Sox bullpen. And then Cam Boozer, we have to see more of still, and I think they're trying to feel him out, but they like that he creates a little bit more balance in that pen. And Zach Kelly's been throwing well. Alex Cora likes the way that he has been approaching his outings this year, and he's been able to come in relief and get the Red Sox out of some tough situations. So they definitely think that Zach Kelly has some upside for sure. And Alex Cora basically explained that he thinks Winckowski going down to AAA and working on his repertoire a little bit is essentially what's best for him. And there's not necessarily anything that says he can't come back up to the majors at some point, but the Red Sox feel like they have a lot of talent this year, so there's going to be hard decisions made along the way, and the reality is they can't keep everybody on the active roster, and they must see something in Winckowski to the point where they wanted to hang on to him, keep him in AAA, and he is expected to join Worcester's rotation as opposed to the bullpen, so it'll really give him the opportunity to continue to get his reps in and work down there, and then maybe he can have a spot again in the future on the major league roster. But it was a move that had to happen in order to make room for Brayan Bello, who I expect to continue to have solid starts and go out there and throw well. He's not walking a ton of guys. He definitely gives up his walks, and it's something that he needs to continue to work on. He did give up 2 walks in the game on Sunday. So I'd like to see him cut down on those a little bit more still, and also increase the strikeout rate a little bit more, because he overall doesn't generate a lot of those swings and misses. But if he can do those things overall, he will be very good for this Red Sox team moving forward. Coming up, the Red Sox did win the series against the Nationals. And what exactly led to that? That's coming up next. I know finding the right life insurance policy can be super stressful. I've been there, I've done that. It really can be overwhelming. Trying to find the right policy on your own time can not only be time consuming, but it can also be super overwhelming. And that's where Policygenius comes in. Policygenius basically is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family with a financial safety net starting today. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. The great thing about it is they really give you lots of options to make sure you're finding the right option for you. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB. Policygenius really will have you covered in the best way possible, and then you won't have to worry about life insurance again or stress about it. So check out Policygenius today. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news. Streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Locked On Sports Today is a great way to stay caught up in all things going on in sports, so you never have to worry about that. So subscribe to it today. The Boston Red Sox are coming off of a very much needed win against the Washington Nationals at home. They lost game 1 5-1. The offense very much was non-existent. They recorded 9 hits as a team, but Connor Wong was the only person in the lineup to have a multi-hit game. He went 2 for 4. Then there were a few more scattered hits throughout, but overall, nobody could get that big hit for the Red Sox. They had opportunities to score as they did strand 11 base runners. So they were generating base traffic, but they weren't able to get that big hit in the game. And it was definitely frustrating for Tanner Houck because he had to take a loss after pitching 7 strong innings, giving up 6 hits and just 3 earned runs. He also struck out 4 in that outing. Tanner Houck continues to pitch very well. He's down to a 2.24 ERA. He's at a 3-4 record on the season, though. And that's tough because his offense just could not get the run support for him. So he ultimately had to take a loss in the game, which was so disappointing. And the Red Sox in that game then brought in Brennan Bernardino. He pitched 1 inning and gave up 0 earned runs. And then Kenley Jansen pitched 1 inning and gave up 2 earned runs. He was not exactly sharp either, so it caused the Red Sox to take the 5-1 loss in that game. Just not a well-played game by the Red Sox in general. No energy, no offensive spark, so it was definitely frustrating. And overall in this series, the Red Sox didn't generate a ton of offense. They won 4-2 on Saturday, and in that game, as a team, they only recorded 6 hits. They just were timely hits. Rafael Devers came up with a big double that scored 2 runs with 2 outs. So that was an example. He was able to get that big hit and the Red Sox did enough to be able to win the game. Cooper Criswell pitched well, 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 9 strikeouts. He's been very impressive. He has a pretty minuscule 2.10 ERA in his starts in Boston this year. So I've been very happy with what we've seen from him so far. So he kept this team in the game to allow them offensively to get something going and win. Bernardino pitched 1.1 innings, 0 earned runs. Justin Slayton, 0.2 innings, 0 earned runs. Chris Martin, 1 inning, 0 earned runs. And Kenley Jansen, 1 inning, 0 earned runs. So the theme of that game was that the pitching looked outstanding. Red Sox did enough offensively to win the game, but even still, not a lot that they were able to generate. They left 4 base runners, so not as bad as game 1, but they were struggling generally to string together hits. So that's something I'm still looking for, because even in game 3 of the series when they won 3-2, not a lot of offense again in that game. 7 total hits as a team. Garrett Cooper went 2 for 3, and then there were other hits scattered throughout. But in general, the Red Sox seem to lack hitters who can get that big hit in crunch time. They left 7 runners on base in game 3 in the series. And this was something I believe we missed from last year, is the fact that Justin Turner was that clutch hitter last year who could come through more often than not when there were runners on base and the Red Sox needed somebody to drive in those runners. Justin Turner, more often than not, you could feel confident in that situation and say, okay, he can score these runners. I feel pretty confident in him. And the problem is now, who really is that? Of course, you could say Devers, because he's just a good hitter overall, and a lot of the time he probably can drive runs in, but he hasn't been doing it super consistently. He hasn't been getting that big hit. There have been multiple situations this year in which the bases have been loaded and Devers struck out. So he's not consistently that guy who can do it. And the problem is, who is it? Is it because they're missing Casas in the lineup, so they're struggling to get those hits offensively that they need? That definitely very well could be a possibility. Is it because Yoshida is on the IL? He hadn't been having the best season at the plate, but he was starting to heat up, and then he got injured. So who is it in the lineup that can get that big hit? Is it Vaughn Grisham, who just got called up recently and hasn't really been up for a lot of games yet, so he hasn't had a chance to make a huge impact yet? Who is it in this lineup? They need somebody who can step up in those situations and be clutch. And Wilyer Abreu, I feel like, is starting to head into that category, because he's consistently been hitting pretty well. He's been able to figure it out at the plate. He can hit to all parts of the field. So maybe he's somebody we look to be reliable in that situation. But even though the Red Sox won the series, which is fantastic, never going to complain about that, they needed it, I'm still taking away from this series the fact that the Red Sox still are generally struggling at the plate. And it comes down to, for one, how is this offense constructed? Is it constructed with enough competitive hitters, or does it have too many strikeout hitters in the lineup? Because we've seen this with the Yankees in the past. They have a lot of hitters who strike out and can't do a whole lot else, and they'll come through here and there, but not enough consistently. And that seems to be the case with the Red Sox right now, is you can't really pinpoint any one hitter who can come through consistently. So then we start to ask, is it an issue with the hitting coach, Peter Fatse? Should he be held accountable, because there hasn't really been a lot of growth in this offense as a whole? And I'm noticing a big difference between the growth of the pitching staff this year and the growth of the offense. Yes, the pitching staff was the biggest concern last year, so that is where the Red Sox needed to focus the most energy this offseason. But if your hitting coach isn't helping to elevate anybody's game, and it's continuing to be this pattern of the offense not really getting it done when they need to, then something obviously needs to be reevaluated. So I'm looking to Pete Fatse as potentially the source behind this problem of the Red Sox not being able to get the hits when they really need those hits. So hopefully they can start to get in the mode of doing what they can do at the plate. Sometimes they try to play hero ball and they feel like they need to swing for the fences. They don't need to do that. They need to go back to being disciplined at the plate, not swinging at whatever, and being able to find their pitch and swing at what they feel is a ball that they can hit to maybe the opposite field or just sneak through the infield for a base hit to score a run. That's what being a good baseball player is all about. What can I do to help my team in this moment? So I'm looking at the Red Sox offensively to figure that out and start to say, okay, what do we need to do to fix this? And I'm interested in seeing if the Red Sox reevaluate the hitting coach's job throughout the season or in the off season this upcoming year, because we want the Red Sox to show improvement on offense. And so far, we haven't seen a lot of that. And yes, it could be that the offense is in a bit of a scuffle right now. I mean, they faced a really good Braves team last week. And then now against the Nationals, they won the series, but the games were low scoring, which is great for the pitching. But this Red Sox offense has shown that they can do better. So it could go back to a variety of different factors, but the Red Sox winning the series overall was good, but a definitive takeaway is that I'd like to see more from the offense because it's hard to get behind feeling as confident in them being able to be consistent as I did earlier in the season. So we'll see if they wake up. We'll see what happens there. But coming up, speaking of the Red Sox offense, there is somebody who may be starting to get hot at the plate, or are we possibly just reading too much into it? You'll find out next. If you're looking for a fun way to be able to play daily fantasy sports, PrizePicks is absolutely the place for you. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. And this has been a really good postseason so far, so if you want to jump in on the action, this is a perfect time to do it. Another great thing about it is PrizePicks even offers injury insurance so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For baseball games, if you have a player who registers 2 plate appearances or less, PrizePicks will have your back and not count that as a loss. There's really a lot of perks to PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's a first deposit match up to $100 if you download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. They truly do make it as easy as possible, and if you're looking to win some money, there's no reason not to do it, and you can incorporate your love for sports into it too, so it's a win-win for everybody. Also, you should check out Locked On Sports today, as we as a network have launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on a YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV Channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV Channels app. Yes, it is completely free, and it will keep you caught up in everything going on in sports with all of our Locked On hosts. So if you're looking to make sure that you're in the loop constantly, no matter what time zone you're in, Locked On Sports Today absolutely has you covered there. The Boston Red Sox just won a series against the Washington Nationals, and the offense was not overly productive, especially in game 1 when it was so frustrating because they had opportunities to win and they could not. But one player who we've been keeping an eye on as he got here is Garrett Cooper, who is a player the Red Sox acquired very recently to handle first base in Tristan Casas' absence. He and Dominic Smith are kind of platooning this position, but that is Garrett Cooper. We've been monitoring what he's been doing at the plate. The question becomes, is he consistent or is he not? And he did go 1 for 3 in Friday night's loss. And then on Saturday, he was not in the lineup because Dom Smith was. But then on Sunday, he was in the lineup again and went 2 for 3 that day. And then eventually Dom Smith came in to pinch hit for him and went 0 for 1. But Cooper did go 2 for 3 on the day. His batting average is now up to a 238 with a 314 on base percentage and 365 slugging. So he's slowly getting his numbers up. He had a 2 for 3 day. The question is, was that a fluke, or is he going to continue to be consistent and light things up at the plate? And baseball's a weird season because every player is going to go through ups and downs, unless you're somebody like Bobby Dahlbeck, who just is consistently going through downs because you just can't figure it out at the major league level. But Garrett Cooper has major league experience, so it's a lot different from the situation with Dahlbeck, just because he's had a lot more experience and he has that variety of teams that he's played for. So what the storyline is now with Garrett Cooper is, can he be somebody who can contribute in the Red Sox lineup? Because honestly, the Red Sox are going to need people to step up that are in the middle and bottom of the order. Garrett Cooper generally has been hitting in the middle of the order or closer to the bottom. And if they can get beyond the meat of the order and get people hitting and producing later on in the lineup, then that's huge. And Connor Wong was somebody who used to always hit in the bottom of the lineup, but because he's been hitting so well this year, now he's moved up into a higher up position in the lineup, so he's been able to continue to produce and make an impact earlier on when the Red Sox are up to bat. Garrett Cooper is somebody who I think the Red Sox should keep further down in the lineup, especially until he shows some consistency and shows that he can hit more regularly. But it was nice to see him have a 2 for 3 day because it allowed him to build up that confidence again at the plate and allowed him to hopefully start to figure out something at the plate. Because again, like I said, with baseball being such a weird sport, sometimes it takes adjusting one small thing about your mechanics or what you're doing at the plate, or even your mindset. Maybe you have to just change your mentality to refocus yourself mentally and get to the point that you need to be at to be successful at the plate. So sometimes it just takes a small adjustment, and then you are home free and you're finding yourself getting on base a lot and making a greater impact than you were before. So Garrett Cooper, somebody I'm going to be continuing to watch. Is he somebody we can trust in the lineup, or is he simply just somebody who we have to expect is not going to hit very well and isn't going to produce a lot, but is there just as a placeholder until Casas comes back? And yes, he, regardless, is likely temporary because Casas obviously is the first baseman of the future. So regardless of how he starts to hit moving forward, it's not like the Red Sox are going to just give up on Casas and keep him long term. But I would like to see some productivity from him offensively. And same with Dom Smith. Dom Smith has not been productive at all at the plate for this Boston Red Sox team, and that's been tough to watch. His batting average is only a 160 right now with a 192 on base percentage and 200 slugging. So Garrett Cooper definitely is a tier above him when you're looking at the two first basemen and where they're at and what they're doing to produce. Cooper definitely is producing a lot more from that standpoint. But overall, that duo, if they're going to be continuing to platoon first base, we need them to produce offensively. And I'm hoping that Garrett Cooper having a 2-hit game sparks something in him and lights up something in his brain to be able to figure out that he needs to continue to hit that way. And we'll know soon if this was just a game where he just was on point and he was hitting well and then he slumps back down into poor performances at the plate, or if it's something he can do consistently. The word consistent is a big theme in baseball because so many things can happen at so many different times because of the fact that it is such a long season. So keep an eye on him. What pitches is he trying to swing at? Is he willing to take his walks? How many parts of the ballpark is he utilizing on offense? Is he aware of the gaps where he can find an opening to get a ball through and get himself on base? So I'm going to be observing all of that moving forward, but he is somebody who, of note, on a day in which the Red Sox didn't have a ton of offensive productivity as a whole, he is somebody who did produce with 2 hits. They did score all their runs over the course of 1 inning, so then it just kind of from there was back and forth with the pitching. But it was worth noting that Garrett Cooper had more hits than anybody else in the Red Sox lineup on Sunday. So we'll see what happens with him. I'm hoping he's somebody who can continue to contribute and be a guy the Red Sox can rely on in the long run, because Casas is likely not going to be coming back for at least a while, if not even the whole season. So we can at least hope we have a first baseman that we can rely on and isn't absolutely putrid at the plate. So hopefully Garrett Cooper can stay this way and he can start to heat up. It's still too soon for me to say whether I definitely feel like he can maintain it, because again, it was just one good game in which he recorded 2 hits. So we have to continue to observe him moving forward. But it's definitely an important thing to note when you look at everything that he's done this season so far, since being acquired by this Red Sox team, and where he goes from here. So watch out for that moving forward. Keep the faith as always. Like I say, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.